Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
Once again, rain pounds the Southland. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Once again, I keep wondering who Rain is. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 394 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over LA. But Corey is there at the Anthem studios, gentrifying LA, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening to our podcast of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/Anthem.
So I don't know what it is. My light is like especially bright today. So sorry I'm washed out, guys. But I don't feel like fixing it. So there we go. Yeah. So the official baby countdown is on. Corey went from being a barely employed journeyman soundman to I'm choosing not to work journeyman soundman.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I would take issue with the journeyman soundman. I don't have a usual 9 to 5 like most people do, but it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah,
just look for new work.
I don't have one of those jobs, or maybe it's yob. I don't know. It could be a soft J.
I have chosen because I would rather not be in the position where I'm like on set and then all of a sudden I get a call where Rachel's like, my water broke, and I'm like, I can't really leave right now. Like, I would sort of need to wait until somebody could like replace me,
So you'd be like
rather than
every man in history before 1981 and just not be there for the birth of your child.
Just meet her at the hospital after my work is done.
Yeah.
After I go home, drop off my briefcase, I have a steak, and then go to the hospital later.
Yes.
A steak and a cigar, and then hospital eventually.
I mean, listen. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's generations of men have been doing that. You choose to be a breeder. This is what happens. It's tough decisions. I think
the ill-loved offspring of those men would prove that it's not a fruitful idea to not be available for it. So
I don't know if you watch Mad Men, but he was loved by a lot of people. So
I want to be here for all these things, so I don't want to miss it, and therefore I'm taking time off to make sure that I'm here for the hopeful first month of little Casey's life, and yeah, and then I'll go back to work when I can. But it's gonna, a lot of people who are parents or soon to be parents are coming to the realization that like there will have to be some sort of considerations made for the fact that I'm going to have to be around for the kid too. So it's tough, but it's good as well.
It's a strong and very unique position to say, I work like 3 days a month, and I am also not going to work during the first month. I want my paternity leave. It's bold.
Problem is there's nobody to pay me the maternity leave.
Apparently not everybody has that. I'm a weird.
I guess I could start Corey Corp, a limited liability corporation, and founded in Delaware.
Whoops, there was a toxic spill. Sorry, it's already out of business.
make the first month of my my salary just be paternity leave. But yeah, I don't know if nobody's offered it to me, so I feel like it's not available to me.
Well, I was just thinking
None of
that
the producers I've recently worked with have been like, "Hey, heard you're having a kid. How about a couple days for nothing?"
you kind of already have Corey Corp. It's Daddy Warbucks says, "What do you need? What can I get for you?" And then everything gets taken care
of. How how you think these things work?
I love Rachel. Probably thought she was like, "I got him now. I got him, and I got all of that." And you're like, "She about to learn today. She about to learn today." Although I joke and say that, but then I've seen a lot of "bye bye baby," which, by the way, bold on a company to put "bye" twice in the name of your company. But good for you. "Bye bye baby" bags all over the place there at the Anthem Studios.
Yeah, it's certainly it's gonna be weird once like the child actually gets here, and like there's a lot of stuff that's like still in boxes because there's no reason to set it up and just have it be in the way at the moment. But like, at some point, like there's gonna have to be a playpen put together and like
a
like
bassinet, so that you have somewhere to put the child who's coming to your house. Yes,
the bassinet is fine. We got that, and it's out, it's ready, it's been tested. Like,
was that yesterday? It wasn't there this weekend when I was there.
No. It's been ready and tested for like 2 weeks now. Really all that needs to be done. Is it just
a new place to put the clothes? Is there just clothes on it right now? Tell me there's clothes on it right now.
It's in a bag. It's on its own carrying case, and then you unzip it, and then you just like quickly open it up like a lawn chair, and then you're good. So it'll be
sounds
fine.
Uber safe. Sounds uber safe. I know when I think place for my child to sleep, I automatically think of every lawn chair never having failed me whatsoever. Every time it's been completely
never
solid.
Been a moment. Well, hopefully she's not one of those pandemic babies that are like 48 pounds, because
I have been joking
then that thing will definitely not happen.
I've been joking with Corey and Rachel because we saw the pandemic baby story. They're gonna give Rachel's gonna give birth to a 50-pound, red hair, freckled child, and then Corey's just gonna leave it at the hospital. That's gonna be the problem. Is this where I can turn in the baby safe? Like, is that around here somewhere?
It is one of those moments where, like, I'm like, I can't leave set, and then Rachel goes and has the birth, and then I show up, and then she's like Laura Flynn Boyle, and there's like an 80-pound baby. Like the back of a.
I immediately thought of Family Guy, where Lois at
with
Chris's birth, and she's just so raggled and tired. It's this huge fucking baby.
Oh man!
Well,
we're classic Family Guy.
We are waiting on Baby Baker's arrival, but to turn into a solemn note, as I laugh, we are no longer waiting to find the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie, and that is the I would
or
say
so you think.
Oh, I mean, yes. Did he pull a I've already forgotten the guy's name who killed him. I didn't kill himself. Billionaire, Perv Island. What was that?
I know what you mean.
Wait, this is my meme world moves so fast. I'm already off of this. I'm on to something else.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah.
He didn't kill himself. That's the conspiracies. He didn't kill himself. So going with that and butchering that meme.
Well, somebody was saying that, like, I saw some ridiculous news story that was like, linked to, like, wouldn't it be cool if it were true.com or something like that?
Yeah.
Like some very reliable source where it's just like, like part of the body's DNA doesn't match with the Brian Laundrie DNA, making us wonder if he just like killed somebody and then made it seem like it was him by sprinkling his DNA on it.
Also,
like,
in other
how
news,
would you go about doing that? Like,
just wait and see. This January 20th, Trump will enter the White House triumphantly as president. Like, oh, both those things sound like they're very legitimate and certainly could happen. So, sure. So if you guys didn't follow, and I said it was a leading story, I guess, of the week, only because it happened on the same day the podcast came out last week. So we're like, oh, yeah, we'll definitely remember that.
Perfect timing, as always.
Yeah. So investigators were in the state park where Brian had disappeared to, And the waters apparently had come down from a storm that happened right after he disappeared. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but there was a huge storm, and they were saying like, "Oh, this would be terrible to be caught out in." And waters had come up. Now they finally gone down, and they found like a bag and a notebook, and the parents apparently identified that as his. And cadaver dogs brought in, and they found human remains, which is almost never good. When they say human remains, what they mean is we're not going to show you a picture of it because it's gross. So
we talked about all that part leading up to the revelation that it was actually
right.
Brian Laundrie.
It was the
on
confirmation
Tuesday. So we did
that it was
talk
him.
about that. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, somebody who was listening to the podcast wasn't out of sort. They just didn't, they were under this, is it like the will he, won't he of is he dead? It's the Schrodinger Brian Laundrie,
Worst bachelor ever. Also, likely the worst guy bachelor ever. Although I guess we'll see. That's another thing too. I think what everybody's asking is, what about all the unanswered questions? And there was a notebook, which apparently is recoverable, meaning not that they found it, but that they might be able to get some writing out of it. And I do want to ask you this, Corey. So let's say there has been some sort of terrible accident, or you get in a fight with your girl and you leave her in a parking lot, which I have done in my life. Pull over. All right, get out.
What are you going to do? Sit out here? I'm not calling Uber. We're in the middle of Yosemite.
You put the Rachel accent on it, but being in Baltimore is basically where I was when all that stuff happened, just so it's clear. But yeah, you pull over, you let her out, you go back like 20 minutes later after you cool down, she's gone. And then just never answers her phone, never shows up. You go home. Oh, wait, she's dead? Oh, shit. So you go out into the wilderness and you write the tell-all of everything that happened in a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And before they find your body, water comes in and just washes all the pages out. How would you feel about that from heaven, I guess, that you Catholics believe in? What would you think?
I mean, I don't think that's what happened. But
okay, fair enough.
Hypothetically, if he was innocent and he wrote, "Nobody will understand me. Here's what really happened."
Oh, or I guess I didn't want to make you sound
like,
guilty, but let's say that you did it.
I mean,
you actually killed her.
You being dead in the woods sounds the most guilty of all.
Yeah,
that's and I mean, as much as I am a proponent of the criminal justice system and finding final closure and a conviction,
swift execution,
jail time, or execute whatever the locality allows. Like if somebody does an awful crime in Texas, I know they're going to get the fucking lethal injection. So there's no point in me really losing a tear about it because Texas is going to Texas, Florida's going to Florida. I think that he kind of saved us a lot of trouble though, if he realized how guilty he was and he was going to end up spending a lot of time in jail, followed by being dead.
Yeah. Save everybody some money and time.
I mean, I think it's not an uncommon, you could put it into real terms of if you found out you had some sort of terminal illness and you had 10 days to live, and you could do this radical expensive treatment that might give you an extra 10 days, or you could just, go shoot yourself or something. I'm not saying that, there are complicated reasons why people commit suicide, even in high leverage situations like this. And, I imagine that he knew that he was going to be sort of thought of as guilty.
Yeah.
If he killed himself. So or if he died somehow in the woods, trying to stay off the radar, and I could see why somebody would want to go out that way as opposed to, jail and trial and jail and lethal injection,
Is it too soon? Oh, no, they got old Sparky back up and running in Florida. So, I guess it wouldn't be Florida. It'd be Wyoming. So, yeah, it would be the gas chamber. But is it too soon to Photoshop Brian Laundrie's face on the Pakistani dad watching the cricket team,
the disappointed guy,
and above the story be notebook found ruined next to him, and just Brian Laundrie being I wrote 95 pages, my whole life story gone. It's all gone.
I mean, I'll say this as somebody who has an affinity for reading people's stories on the internet and stuff like that. Most people can't write.
Those things that you're
Most
reading,
normal people.
that's not real literature, Corey. If it's got a porn or a hub in some form in the name, it's not literature.
It's called Lit Erotica. I don't know.
I couldn't remember the name of the website, but that is the name of the website. Something Corey has never gone to in his life.
No, I'm saying, as somebody who's read
Lit Erotica. Oh my God, that's a deep pull. Like that's like 2005,
back, right?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So
back when it took 10 minutes to load a picture, you're like, "Fuck this! I got imagination. I'll be fine."
Casey, stop listening. So back in like the 2010 or so, we weren't at the streaming point of the internet, so you were left with whatever porn you had on your computer and like pictures that would take 15 minutes to load, or if you were industrious, you could read a story.
Wait. Like, don't forget though, there was also if I can be the last one on the computer and the first one on the computer, I can use LimeWire to download a video. But it's a risky proposition in case Dad decides to check the news before he gets his work.
Also, that thing where you're like halfway through the download and you look and you're just like, oh, 9 gigs. This is definitely a virus. I don't know what I downloaded this.
9 gigs that's like a week of downloading. I can't even imagine how long that would take. They didn't have things that were that good. The fidelity was terrible. You're just like basically watching late night on the actual TV where you're like fuzz. Oh, there's a boob. I saw a boob.
I saw a boob. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny that time in the internet.
We're so old. I mean, yes, one of us is creating a human being. That's how old we are. Although, as I argue,
you don't need to be that old.
I could have a 20-year-old child right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, especially the way I was living. Anyway, so Brian Laundrie.
I mean, no, I kind of, like, if you know that you're going to be found guilty and you're going to be seen as guilty for the rest of your life, and the trial is just going to be long and expensive, and you're basically fighting technicalities and trying to get shit thrown out, like, you're playing a zero-sum game of I'm going to win this court proceeding. Yeah. So like, I get why, I kind of appreciate that we don't have to pay for the trial and the jail and the lethal injection and all that.
But for her parents though, like not ever knowing what happened.
I think they know what happened. I think everyone kind of has pieced this all together. And, him showing up dead is like the best verification that it was him for them, and they can come to terms with it.
Showing
eventually.
Up dead is the Baltimore version of waking up dead, whereas all the normal people in the country say he died last night. When he showed up dead, everybody knew he was guilty. I don't know.
Showing up dead to me is actually a very Baltimore thing because it's like you stumble upon somebody who's dead.
That's also true. Yeah.
So like
I went in the house. This mother showed up dead. I don't even know.
If I was just outside of Sunoco back in Baltimore and Rob just found me like hunched over with gunshots in my chest and stuff like that, he'd be like, "Here's Corey showing up dead." I
mean, also there's the he was late for work for 3 days and then he showed up dead. Yeah. We realized that we were going to have to do some hiring one way or another, so we started, but then he showed up dead. So, but yes, Brian.
It sounds very like, what's the thing, like the Rainbow Bridge or whatever it is, like a very nice way of saying somebody's died. They've showed up dead, like as opposed to.
I don't know why when you said Rainbow
Bridge.
They've
been found in a hail of gunfire. They showed up dead.
When you said Rainbow Bridge, immediately I went to, what does Mario have to do with any of this? And then I realized my brain is poisoned. It's just, everything is ruined. It's
immediately Charlie Day with the...
Anyway, so we are making light of an awkward discussion, but Brian Laundrie, I think the other thing I really hate about this is he showed up dead. He was confirmed dead. It was confirmed it was him. And then immediately fell out of the news cycle. Everybody's like, oh, all right, well, cool.
I was
Anyway,
hoping for a whole 9 months of Nancy Grace coverage on this thing. Like,
where is Brian Laundrie? If I was him, I would have
no,
run to
but
South America.
eventually he gets found. Eventually he
Yeah.
goes on trial. And
Dog the Bounty Hunter finds him. It's a Nancy Grace dog crossover episode. Nancy Grace, the fugitive hunter.
literally nothing dies. It's just like I was watching a thing like there's no more one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
Because even one-hit wonders can stay in the public eye for enough that like they're sort of famous for at least one other thing before they go. You had a really hit song, and then you also had a line of nail polish that was popular for a little bit.
I mean, even
then
you had a hit
and then
song.
You fade away.
You had a hit song, and then after it went off the radio, somebody on TikTok made a funny meme about it, and then a ton of people made it, and now they're talking about this song from the late 1900s, and you're like, how fucking dare you? How
this
fucking
Vanessa
dare you?
This Vanessa Carlton song.
Yeah. By the way, the people at work think it's funny now to talk about how I was born in the latter part of the 1900s. While factually accurate, disturbs me on a very deep level. I'm like, he's out of line, but he's right. Yes, I was born in the latter part of the 20th century. But and then the other person who said it to me was born in 2002, and I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Well, I mean, like, it's also like, I don't think of the future in terms of like, I think of the future in as much as I hear a date out loud. So like every once in a while, an athlete will sign a contract and it's like they're signed through 2027. And I'm like, now that's the longest number I can think of because that is the furthest end point somebody has given, like it is expected to last until 2035. Okay, that is now as far into the future as I can see because somebody's actually said the number out loud. You know what I mean? So like there's like a thing about Casey coming in 2020. My child is going to be born in 2021 where I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like that's the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I thought you were gonna go with he signed until 2027, and then you think immediately like, is that a 19-year long contract? How long do they have him for? Oh wait, 6 years. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, fair enough. Somebody says 30 years ago, and you're like, all right, 1970s. Oh no, 91. 91 is 30 years ago.
Oi.
Yeah. But
so from one piece of shitty news to another, everyone's talking about.
I really thought we were going to go to
Baldwin.
Trump, and I almost said piece of shit. You mean? And then I realized, like, oh, glad I didn't say that because, oh, poor Alec Baldwin. Oh, poor Alec.
Somebody
Baldwin.
who played Trump.
Yeah. Oh, very true.
Alec Baldwin was involved in a accidental shooting. Oh, look at me, all the way on the edge.
Oh, I didn't fix that one. All right, everybody's gonna have to look at me answering a work text while you're talking.
That's fine. Don't pay attention to the right side of the screen. Alec Baldwin, as everyone knows right now, is involved in an accidental shooting on the set of a movie called Rust, where the DP died and the director was severely injured when a gun that was supposed to be a prop gun that turned out to have some sort of bullet or blank in it was fired in the direction of camera, and we know what happened from there. It's incredibly sad. I think about it a lot because a lot of the experience I have with guns on set are like the obviously fake ones, like the rubber ones and the ones that don't have any kind of like working mechanism. It's not like they're an old gun that's been decommissioned. It's like a gun that never worked to begin with. But there have been times where there was live ammo on something that I worked on, and there's a lot of precautions that are taken, and when those precautions aren't taken, people get seriously hurt or die. And that's what happened here. I mean, that's what happened with the Crow, with Brandon Lee, and a lot of people. Just because you don't hear about people dying on set all the time doesn't mean that people don't get shot by some stupid gun that honestly doesn't need to be there in the first place. That's my personal opinion. I don't think we actually need the guns anymore because the special effects is so easy to do. Like it's so much easier to just add the fucking fire onto an obviously fake gun than it is to have something that needs to be like you need to have an armorer for. I don't know. Like I figured I could talk a little bit about like what goes on set with guns.
Yeah.
So maybe people who are reading stories sort of get an idea of like what happened here.
Well, and I just want to preface it just by saying, like, I've seen, and I never, my mind immediately goes to like, oh, which side of the spectrum, political spectrum, are you on? Which isn't fair. But I've seen people like, well, why didn't Alec Baldwin like? I'm sure you're gonna get into this, but the actor trusts that when somebody says, no, you're good, it's safe, that it is. Because what the fuck does Alec Baldwin know about guns? He's like, all right, you give me the thing, and am I pulling the trigger or no? Yes, you're pulling the trigger because we want the puff of smoke when you pull the trigger. And he does, and a bunch of wadding gets, hyper sent and hit somebody in the chest or whatever. So I don't think Alec Baldwin as an actor is to blame. Now, as a producer, maybe there's some corners cut because they're trying to save money. I don't know. But as the actor who pulled the trigger, I don't think it's on him whatsoever. Because we know actors. They just take direction. They do exactly what you say. Like, good night, San Diego? Who the fuck put a question mark at the end of the...
Well, I mean, like, I don't blame Alec Baldwin at all as an actor. Correct. Because, this was all rehearsal, too. So, there was a chance that he was asking them complex questions about what they would see and how they wanted it. Like,
yeah.
Do you want are you going to see the gun? Do you need my finger on the outside of the trigger guard, or do you need it like I'm actually going to pull the trigger? That could have been a discussion because that was showing up on screen. And normally you would try and do whatever you can if there was a gun, even if it had a blank or something like that in it, to not have anyone behind the camera. You do what you call locking it off, which just basically means you lock the camera in place so that it can't move on the tripod. And then you don't need to have an actual person behind the camera. So if an actor points a gun at the lens, then it doesn't, accidentally go off and kill somebody,
Yeah.
But, Baldwin as an actor, I don't blame the Baldwin producer part, maybe, because it seems like this thing did not have enough money, which is usually the sign of safety not being of paramount concern. I mean, a bunch of the people who were in the camera department quit the day of the accident, and they cited poor gun safety as one of the things that they were quitting over, which just makes this all the more tragic. But I don't know. Like, I feel like every set I've ever been on has been very strict when there's a gun. Like, there's only 2 or 3 people at most who touch it. One of them's the actor, one of them's the armor, or like somebody within props who's acting as an armor, and like maybe an assistant director or someone like that will be given, or grip will be given permission to do it. But like, nobody else is supposed to touch the gun at all. And it's just really, it seems like somewhere along the line something was missed. Either the armor didn't check to see if there was anything inside the gun, or maybe they just had it sitting there and they were about to get to it, and then the AD grabbed it and said, oh, it's cold, which is like a sign that it doesn't have any ammo in it. And then if you hear that, you're just trusting it. Like you as an actor, you kind of have to separate yourself from the, it's the the Meisner thing of like pretending to act authentically in fake situations, stuff like that. So like, the moment that he has the gun and he's on the stage and he's on camera, he has to sort of behave like the guy who has the gun in the story that they're shooting right there. So, like he might do things that he wouldn't necessarily do because he's trying to be in character. And, like I can't even imagine how he's got to feel truly awful that he's involved in this,
Yeah.
I like, if you made a mistake that cost somebody their life, like, you start wondering like what you could have done differently. But like really nothing could have been done like that much differently, I don't think, in that situation. I mean, like there's things that like, they shouldn't have been behind the camera, but I mean, like if they're rehearsing it, they don't think, like they also don't think that it's going to go off like that. And if somebody tells you that there's no bullets in it, then you're going to believe them. I usually like it when somebody who's in charge of the gun like sort of will open it up and like show you can look down the barrel and see that there's no bullets in there, like, and they'll walk up to each crew member and just sort of show them down the barrel so that you can see it. Perhaps that could have happened. That could have happened and avoided this situation. But
I mean, I feel like that is a an extreme measure, and they weren't really taking that many measures at all, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, if the crew says that there was poor gun safety happening, I just believe it. I can just foresee a world where just a bunch of people were touching the gun. There was nobody who was like, the person who was working as the armorer in this one, apparently this is like her second big feature. So like, she could have, she admitted on a podcast actually before her first feature that she didn't feel like she was like ready to do the job yet.
Always good.
But then everything went smoothly on the first job. So she feels like she was better, I guess, for the second one. And again, I'm not trying to, somebody will be legally held responsible at some point. But I feel bad for everyone sort of in the chain unless they did something truly negligent, like,
what was that first feature? It was a town where there were no guns, and one guy showed up with a gun, and he was the king of the town. All right, that doesn't exactly sound like the same thing we're dealing with. This is a western where there's going to be some gunfire and some horses. Probably not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really think we should just push for no guns, like, just nothing that's capable of firing.
Every other communist looking for no guns.
I don't know if it's a communist thing.
No, communists love guns, actually.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I feel like Democrats. I feel it's all the guns out there. But we just last week talked about IATSE's
deal
contract dispute.
The deal that had been struck?
Yeah, the deal that was reached. And, a lot of people sort of brought up that safety matters weren't being thoroughly addressed here. Like, there's things that crew have always asked for that sort of like is like one of the first items to go. But usually the thing that they're asking for is something based off of like safety. So like the crew on Rust, apparently they were shooting in Santa Fe, but the hotel was in Albuquerque, which is like an hour away. So, you say to yourself like, oh, boo-hoo, they're flown out to New Mexico and they had to stay in Albuquerque instead. But, if you're waking up an extra hour early to drive to set, and then you're working 12 to 14 hours days, and then you're driving home for an hour, after 5 days of that, you get exhausted on the last drive. You're driving home and you think that you're going to fall asleep behind the wheel. And a lot of people have fallen asleep behind the wheel and, killed themselves and hurt themselves. And, it's a very serious issue. And, I think it would help the people who are members of IATSE who are not in favor of the deal that has been struck to say, like, listen, it's time to make real safety concerns paramount in any part of the negotiation. And, a lot of good faith gestures by producers on that front might actually help, make a deal go through if they went back to the negotiating table for that stuff alone.
And I mean, safety was on their list of demands, and it apparently was not in the finalized deal, or not to the satisfaction of people who are pushing for safety anyway.
Well, it's like, because like you're always talking about safety in a construct for, like for somebody who, there's a lot of the crew who maybe lived in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And only 4 people needed to be housed. So you're just like, like, well, this isn't a problem for 95% of the crew who drives 10 minutes and gets home.
Sure.
It's like, but like, just put us up in Santa Fe. Well, that would cost the production extra $100 per person per night. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't do the movie then if you can't afford to do it. Like,
well, I don't know what to... the Kellogg's workers are on strike. I don't know if we mentioned that, but they are. The people who are striking, 70% of them aren't going to be beneficiaries of what they're asking for. They are looking for they have a 2-tier system with employees, and you can only have up to 70% of the workforce in the top tier, which has better benefits and better pay, and the bottom tier is called temporary or coming in workers. That's 30% of the workforce, and actually that's what's capped by the 70%, because otherwise the company would fire all the old people and hire a bunch of temps, but they can't. So that's what's capped. But they're striking to get better wages, better health care, better everything for the 30% of workers. Because the way a union is supposed to work is that's what you do. This doesn't impact me. It impacts you, though, and that's very important. And I think if you ask the IATSE people, and let's say 95% of them live in Santa Fe, they would still say, no, they need to be here in Santa Fe with us. No, that is too much of a drive for them. Bring them here. And that is why, I mean, in IATSE's case, why it's so powerful, because it's not 95% of, the grips, 95% of electrical. It's 95% of everyone here who is not a director, producer, or actor. That's it.
Well, it's also like the rules are so kind of arbitrary based off of where you are. Like, so, in LA, there's always been the 30-mile zone, the TMZ, which is, basically in the middle of Hollywood. You draw like a 30-mile diameter around the whole thing.
Yeah, just right down the street from my house is the center of the world, and that's where the center of that pin goes. Yeah,
and then basically, if you are working inside of that 30-mile radius, then 60-mile, when you think of it like on
the
both
whole
ends.
Radius, yes, the diameter,
but like, if you will. You're held to a certain level of like, you have this much time to get here. Like, if you're shooting outside of it, the rules are completely different. It's like in one area that they're this way, and then outside of it, they're completely different. If you work in Atlanta, there's no version of like a 30-mile zone. So it's just like wherever you come from. But in a lot of places too, like, I know a lot of people who do stuff in Baltimore, but they live in North Carolina.
Yep.
Like, they just drive up and, pay for their own hotel and act like a local, because that's the best way for them to get work. And it's just like, that shouldn't be you should pay people to like come up and work for you. Like, they shouldn't be out of pocket to compete for a job, like.
Well, and I was going to say, if you're in, let's say you live in the San Gabriel Valley, which for non-locals is to the east of LA, and the set is Fontana. Well, I don't know how far of a drive Fontana is. Vacaville is Vacaville.
That's Victorville.
Vacaville is a town, but yes, I meant Victorville. Vacaville is a town, though. By the way, it's Cowtown. But Victorville, from somewhere in the San Gabriel Valley, that might be like a 30-minute drive, right? But if you're coming from Hollywood or points east with traffic, that might be a 2-hour drive. And you regularly made it. It was like 90 minutes, right?
I mean, it's probably like if you were like if you were in like Covina,
yeah, like just the edge of the edge of the TMZ.
Covina to Victorville is probably like an hour or something drive. Okay. But like, if you were coming from Hollywood, probably take an extra, depending on traffic, maybe take an extra hour to just get that.
And then
like
if you're in Santa Barbara,
morning rush hour traffic or something like that, then...
But if you're Santa Barbara or Malibu or somewhere on the west edge of the TMZ, I mean, add another hour on top of that to get to Hollywood, plus an hour to get there, and then plus an hour out. So I mean, like I think the idea with that is if you're in Fontana, you're out of town, and you gotta house people, you gotta so they don't have to drive 2 hours back or 3 hours back home every day, or pay for it themselves. So it makes also I was gonna say Atlanta. I know people who are commuting 60 minutes to Atlanta and they live 75 miles outside the city. It's just like, it's not the same thing, but it should be really the same thing. All the rules apply the same everywhere.
I mean, like there were discussions at some point along the way of like maybe including portal to portal time, which is just like the moment you leave your house to the moment you get back to your house, which factors in for all the time that you would spend driving.
12-hour day, and it like starts when you leave?
Yeah. Like, and they give in time for how long it takes, you would be done at like 11 hours. So you could do your 1 hour on the road back, Yeah. But I mean, like, these are all things that are like, would actually be beneficial for health and safety, would not cost production that much more money. and then would also be like something that the crew would uniformly love, but also at the same time is like the first item off the budget you
Yep.
cut off. Like you're just like when you have a $10 million movie, and you only have a $5 million budget, you're starting to cut out things like portal to port. You're just like, no way, can't afford that. Like your rate includes your kit. You're like, you're coming up with any way to save money along the way. Like we don't need catering. We'll just have Subway, like Chipotle one day. It's fine.
But here's
like
the
you're
thing.
finding out ways to like cut money.
That's like if you have a business and you say, I can't pay more than $7.25 an hour, or I can't stay in business. You have a bad business model. If you can't get it done and pay people a living wage, then that's what you guys love, this capitalist system. This system says you should not be in business. You don't know what you're doing, or it's not a profitable idea. So don't go into business. They're going to affect all of these small businesses with a $15 minimum wage. Okay. Or there's a bunch of small businesses that only stay afloat by paying slave wages to their workers.
I will say, before we get off this, I will say one thing in defense of IATSE. One thing in particular in defense of IATSE, because you brought up the lifting the lowest paid at Kellogg's thing.
Yeah.
There were dramatic raises for the lowest paid positions in IATSE contracts that was negotiated as part of this deal. So people who had traditionally been getting paid like nothing. I mean, like, if you are if you're like head of a department, like if you're a sound mixer or a director of photography or like a steady cam op or, like a key grip or any of these people, gaffer, like you can make a decent amount of money. If you're a PA, you are not making a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
There's no PA that is getting paid like a decent living wage. And most of the time, they're doing that for as long as they can survive to make connections to be able to work something out. You're a PA for as short of a time as humanly possible until you get picked up as a group or something, like until somebody says, "Hey, can you do this?"
Yeah.
And then you say yes, and then they ask you to do it again, and you get paid for that job instead.
And it's a consistent battle of like, am I going to run out of money first? And like have to go home, which is inevitably the go home is the part. These people are not the ones who are living like in the San Gabriel. They're coming from the top 2% of every high school in the country. Am I going to run out of money first, or am I going to make enough connections that someone says, "Hey, you were an extra. Do you want to be first AD on this thing I'm doing?" And Roberto said, some guy says, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll do that."
Yeah, I mean, you just sort of that's sort of how it works. But I'm glad IATSE really stood by that one. I mean, like it reminds me of Tony Gwynn. They were interviewing him during the MLB strike in '94, and they were just like, "What do you have to gain from this?" And he's just like, "It's not about me.
Yeah,
it's about the people who are coming after me.
Yep,
because people like me when they were, people at my position." In the 70s, when they were, doing strikes and trying to fight for better deals, we're doing it for people like me. Yep. So I'm going to do it for the next person who's going to come up like me. Like, I'm looking out for them.
That's what a union is for.
I'm going to get paid regardless of what happens here. Like I'm fine. I got to look out for the next guy because, somebody looked out for me before I came up. So
yeah, and they asked Bobby Bonilla the same thing, and he said, "I'm going to make $1.7 million for the next 55 years. It's not about me."
Listen, if it don't come in the mailbox, I don't want to read about it.
Well, from one thing
I think it'd be really funny if he did get just that check like mailed to him every year.
Only thing, I want it mailed. Send it.
And then just like he's like one of those people who's just like, "Fucking mail's delayed. It's been 5 days. I haven't got my check yet." Calling up them, it's like, "You send that check."
By the way,
you got tracking on that check.
I assume Bobby Bonilla does not have TikTok, because if he did and he didn't shoot a video of him in a robe like dancing out to the mailbox, he has missed a huge opportunity. It's like make it a national holiday, Bobby Bonilla Day.
It's already a national holiday.
But I would say I do think that I said this last week. I do think that IATSE's membership is never going to pass the deal that they agreed to, so it'll probably have to go back to the table. That remains to be seen. I just think that this Russ thing is another nail in the coffin of, well, we can just sign this agreement we have. They're never going to agree, especially when stuff like this continues to happen. And from one deal that is probably not going to get done to yet another deal that's probably not going to get done. The Build Back Better plan, actually, arguably, they're both really bad for middle-class Americans who are trying. The failure of the deal, bad for middle-class Americans who are just trying to make a living.
Here's the secret about Democrats. Bad for everybody.
Yeah.
It's like
Republicans are really bad for poor people and on the left. Democrats, just
we
bad
came
for
with
everybody.
a really popular plan, and we're going to tax billionaires to get it done. Well, that sounds incredible. Oh, the billionaires said no, so we're just going to tax you instead. Well, that sounds shitty.
No, you already supported it. It's fine. We're going to pass it. Don't worry about it.
You already said you wanted new roads and bridges. Too late now. Well, how bad you want it?
Yeah.
Well,
And wait, Kristen Sinema didn't actually say that the billionaire said no. She just said she didn't feel like it would benefit the people of her district, which what she meant is the people who give her money, which means billionaires. So
I don't think she's once mentioned the people of Arizona and any of the things. Arizona is merely just the means by which I got to the Senate. I would do it in any state. I don't care what.
I'm just gonna make the argument.
What's the state bird? I don't know. I fuck Arizona.
I'm gonna make the argument, and I will stand by this 4 years from now. They should just dig up John McCain and run him against her. I bet you he will win. Just prop him up in the coffin with the thumb up, and we're good. Oh, wait, no. Thumb down. The thumb down, and then it's going to be money. He's going to win in a landslide.
Build it like an animatronic so it can just do thumbs up or thumbs down.
The hall of guys who were never presidents. Oh.
The hall of almost got it.
Almost. Get a little bit faster now. But not only is the Build Back Better plan not looking good, also it has like 9 different names now because everybody's making a version and calling it something else. So that's awesome and not confusing at all. But Biden still calling it the Build Back Better plan and calling it that as people shout, "You suck," and his rating just tumbles downward, unfortunately. But I will point, I didn't say this in a pre-show call, but I will point out he still has a rating that is higher than one president at this point in his presidency. So there's that.
Second from the worst.
And arguably, there's a chance this country is going to reelect the worst in 2 years. So, I mean, there's that. Because we never learn. But yeah, Trump had a worse approval rating at this point in his presidency. But he's the only one who has a worse one.
I mean, I feel like most people had the same sort of general. Like my approval of Biden at this moment is the lowest it's been. Like if you ask me to quantify it as a number, it's definitely the lowest. And I think it's because I feel the way most people in America feel, which is you got elected, and I was going to give you a little bit of time to figure it out, get your sea legs.
You have been arguing for him for months now. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance.
And you know what? Like there were parts of Trump where I said give him a chance, like mostly before he actually took office and did shit. But there was I was saying the same thing for him too.
And maybe there were good people on both sides. Let's just give it a chance, okay?
I definitely did not say that one. I just think that he hasn't done shit, and nobody else has done shit, and that weighs on people. Like,
did you see his town hall, by the way, the one last week?
I was watching a little bit of it earlier.
I don't really want to talk about it but all I'm saying is someone at work brought it up, and I said, this is what it looks like when you put a 77-year-old man on a stage for 90 minutes. He's just wandering around talking about nonsense. That's my dad. My dad will, you put him on stage in front of 100 people, he will wander around and talk nonsense after a few minutes. Now, he calls it religion. I say it's nonsense, but.
I mean, I feel that, there was a time and place where like, if somebody had to deliver a speech in front of a group of important people, like I would task my dad with that. Yeah. I'd say, you are capable of going up there and being cogent and delivering a speech in front of this group of incredibly important people, but I would tell him that when he was 60 or 55, because I didn't really know him before that. Like I knew of him, but like I wasn't, I'm sure he was even sharper when he was 35, but I wasn't around for that point, Yeah.
Oh, you were around. Yeah, you just, not really taking in the sights and worried about your own shit.
But now that my dad's, 75, I can't, like I wouldn't trust him the same way to handle that kind of situation.
I will still argue though,
because
your dad or my dad, we put him up at a QAnon convention, they will be a hit. Like, this guy's making some sense. Like, no, he's not. He never makes sense.
Well, I'm gonna channel your dad real quick. Well, you guys are awfully friendly.
Yeah, no, the way that he interconnects the QAnon conspiracies, and then I'm like, well, what about this one? He's like, no, that one's not true. Like, same source. That one's not true. Okay, cool. Anyway, we're not talking about my dad. We're talking about another 77-year-old man who should not be running the country, Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's again, I said this when he was running. It's not my fault that you all chose Biden. Like, I was here sitting in California waiting for people to survive long enough for me to vote for them. And by the time it came to be California, it was just Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And I guess Elizabeth Warren was still running at that point. She was like way the fuck out of it.
Yeah, I think she still was in there.
Bernie really had no realistic chance either. So it was basically like, are you going to vote for Bernie to thumb your nose at the eventual candidate? Or are you just going to get in line and join the Biden train? And I'm like, I choose not to join the Biden train. So therefore, I will thumb my nose at it and I'll vote for Bernie and, we'll be good. Like,
I want to make a proposal that will, it'll destroy the constitutional republic that we have. But, okay. And that is that California passes a law. And if you send me to the state house, I will argue for this law. I'm not running, but just if you send me there, that the California primary be 1 week and 1 day before the, Vermont? No, the New Hampshire primary. And New Hampshire's law says that its primary must be 2 days before any other primary. And we just start this continuum of we could never have an election again. Let's just let it go.
So fun fact, California is moving itself way the hell up.
But not to the front of the line, though.
No, but I think they're fourth now.
Yeah, it's before Super Tuesday.
Oh, no, Iowa lost their shit. After the shit that Iowa pulled this last one, they're not. I think it's Nevada first.
No, New Hampshire's always first.
New Hampshire, Nevada. But Nevada's a caucus, so I thought that.
Well, Iowa's a caucus too, but the caucus is what it controls. That's how they pick their delegates. So.
Anyway, I know that California is like 3 or 4 next time, and Iowa was told to take a seat near the back.
Good. Well, hopefully we won't have 19 people on stage in September that way. Like, let's just fucking clear this bitch out first. Somebody jumps out with 170 delegates, and you're like, all right, well, it's been real. Thanks, guys.
I mean, like, again, I would love it if, we voted for one of the young, hip, with it candidates, not the 70-year-olds, but that's apparently not how this whole thing works because, no matter what we do, we're going to run into a 70-year-old somewhere because they're everywhere in the Congress. So,
well, listen, all I'm saying is they don't have to be. The guillotine wouldn't even have
to
be that sharp.
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. There should be an age limit to running for office.
Oh, listen, all my complaints aside, I don't vote, so I don't.
If you hypothetically could, if you get to an age where the DMV might ask you to take a vision check to renew your driver's license, I don't think you should be allowed to run for office in that state.
Yeah.
If Maryland says it's 70, you're not allowed to just get your license renewed without coming in and then making sure that you're capable of driving still. Maybe you shouldn't be allowed to be governor.
To be fair, though, maybe not the best barometer because my dad went and got his license renewed, and less than 2 months later, passed out at the wheel and had a car accident. So I don't know if we want to put government in charge of who should be in the government. I just feel like this is probably a bad test overall.
All I'm saying is that it takes away 75% of the most awful politicians we have if we just lop it off at 70.
That's a good number.
Like, nobody's allowed to.
Because Kristen Sinema is definitely under 70, but she also should not be in a state house anywhere doing government. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like with all the corporate donations and the things that control Kristen Sinema, I feel like she's basically in spirit a 75-year-old man.
75-year-old white man, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's one of the she's like Jeff Flake, only in the body of a woman.
What if we had a place?
Wouldn't it be funny if it was Jeff Flake all along?
Like controlling her?
Rips. rips off the Kristen Cinema mask, and he's like, "Ha ha! You thought you got rid of the old Flakester."
I've seen Jeff Flake. He doesn't have the dimensions to pull off Kristen Cinema. All I'm saying. But what if we took a place somewhere very nice, like Kansas, and we just took everyone once they hit 65, they all go to this place.
I guess that's. I guess we're defining nice differently these days, but okay. Go on.
Well, listen, when you're 70, you're probably going to be wanting to live out in the country somewhere. You're not going to want to be in the city.
Well, like I think Florida more than like. Why don't we just put them all in Florida?
Yes. Well,
we've already got a good head start there, and then
yes, but only part of Florida. Let's just take the western half of Florida, carve out Orlando, and then just end it. And why don't we send everybody over 70 there?
Why don't we just go down to Florida, find the people who are not the elderly, and then just politely ask them to spread themselves out around the rest of the South, and then we can just have like an elderly population. It'll just be like what's the name of that place down there that has like 100,000 people in it?
Boca Raton. What?
No.
Oh, the Glades.
The retirement community.
Yeah, I thought it was called the Glades.
No, it's something else. Okay,
I will agree to this with two conditions. One's for me and one is for you. For me, I need to carve out from this reservation the city of Miami, South Beach, North Beach, because I do not know a place where the girls just forget that, morality exists, that they're in public. Nothing beats a margarita as big as your head. In Miami.
It's the tropical air that hits you and you lose all semblance of what.
And for I want to carve out Orlando and the surrounding areas. Because otherwise you're going to have to go to Disney here in California, which is the goddamn worst. And who wants to do Universal Studios, Hollywood is fucking terrible. The one in Florida is the one to go to, even with the humidity and the tropical storm. So we'll carve out those two islands and the rest. You disagree?
And then we don't need sports, so you can just get rid of.
They don't deserve sports anyway. And you know what? If they field a team full of 70-year-olds, they might do better. I can't say for sure.
Well, I mean, the Bucks do have Tom Brady.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're already in the habit of getting them. I think this is a plan that could work. And then if things go really bad, you just I don't want to say start a wildfire, but like something to just burn it from the top down to the bottom.
I show up at the board of Florida with Rob, and I'm just like, is the plan complete? And you're like, sure it is. We fenced off Miami, so we got that part all taken care of, and then just the rest are just old people. I got rid of everyone who wasn't an old person. It's like, oh great, what'd you do with them? Do with them? I was supposed to do something with them once I.
We just got rid of everybody else.
I don't know. They're around here somewhere.
Wandering around naked in the wild like God intended.
It's like fucking Westworld. They're all just lined up naked in a garage somewhere.
I mean, here's the problem with that story, Corey, is that when you give somebody that kind of power, we would show up, 5-10 years from now, and we'd be like, everything's set? Yep, walls up. All right, all the old people are on the other side, and then they look at us and they tilt their head and they're like, almost. And then they walk us through the gate to the other side and lock it behind us. Because we think we're 22, and we're not. Going to be 40 very soon. So
outfoxed by these goddamn old people.
Like, these fucking... Gen Z is the worst generation ever, I scream from the other side of the fence, and nobody's listening to me. Okay, boomer! Comes a voice from the other side.
See, the worst part is I feel like millennials, when we get to be 70 and 75, are going to have more than enough like common sense that we're just going to be like, you know what? I'm gonna back out of this peacefully. I'm all done. I'm good. Meanwhile, the boomers just won't let it die. Like they're just like, no, every single moment I can have power until the very end. Like, please.
Yeah, I can't. Gen A or whatever we're gonna call like Maxon and Casey's generation. Also, having grown up in poverty, they're gonna be much like the boomer generation, ironically, and then we cycle back again. The people who are like, oh, well, I grew up in my dad. I grew up in the Depression, so I have a different way of life. We don't waste anything. Maxon and Casey are washing their clothes in a river. They're going to appreciate when it all comes back around, but then they're going to hold on to power because they're like, no, I know what it's like to be not there. So.
Well, when they buy houses for $50,000 and.
Yeah, working at McDonald's. Like, how'd you buy your first house? Worked at McDonald's? Like, what? How? Oh yeah, starting at like 17. I got this house is like $25,000. Like, oh my god. I still can't afford a house because I'm still in debt $400,000 because student loans just never got any smaller. I don't know what to tell you. You got to pay him for that. But when it comes to the deal, the Build Back Better plan, there are two obviously people who have been standing out. One is Senator Manchin, who is a coal guy from coal country who made his money in coal and then, surprise, surprise, doesn't want environmental protections in the bill. Who would have guessed? And the other is the aforementioned Kristen Sinema, who, much like, you might consider a prostitute, is just, available for whoever's got the most dough and continues to be available for whoever gets the most dough. Or that's what it
right
seems
now,
like
pharmaceuticals seems to be the John of the day.
I mean, now also pharmaceuticals and the CEOs of those companies who don't want their companies taxed, but also don't want to be taxed personally either. So...
Right. Well, yeah, that's the interesting, Cinema wants to get rid of, by the way, if you want to look up the most popular things that get pulled around America, being able to negotiate in group for discounts on prescription drugs is like a high 90s issue.
Yes.
There's not, because here's the thing. A high 90s amount of people have to buy prescriptions at some point or another.
Yeah.
Like there's a very few. There's a very small carve out of people who never have to buy a prescription.
Kristen
Sinema
does.
Time you go,
she has to. It's just free with her government insurance that she doesn't want anyone else to have.
Yeah, I mean, and for me and you, if we have to go buy some pill, it'll be $900.
Oh, did I mention this? That obviously I was wearing the glasses at the beginning. I'm still wearing the glasses. This bottle, not this bottle, because this is the generic. I finally convinced them to give me the generic. The named version of this is $500. Not like, oh, you get a lifetime supply. This bottle is $500.
Yeah.
With my insurance. That's with my insurance. Like, what the fuck is wrong?
And Kristen Sinema doesn't think that it should be a penny cheaper because capitalism.
Yeah.
So... And that billionaires shouldn't be responsible for paying all this because they're the ones who create all the jobs and the trickle-down economy and all that sort of stuff that Jeff Flake is parroting through her mouth hole.
Okay, wait. I've got another plan. Forget it, John McCain. We dig up Ronald Reagan and we put him up. Oh, wait. That'll never work. He'll never get elected.
Fucking liberal, they would say, as he spouts his most conservative bullshit.
Oh... Anyway,
there should be a guest worker visa for people coming across from Mexico.
Communist!
You suck, Reagan!
Did you just call Ronald Reagan a communist? Well, if he's going to say communist, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. Actually, he looks like a skeleton.
It's fucking Alexandria Ocasio-Reagan.
Oh, my God. I feel like we have a skit somewhere here we should film about... Alexandria Ocasio.
Have Reagan, have Ocasio-Cortez.
I feel like Katya could pull that off. I feel like she could do it. She's got chops. Arguably, Roberto could as well. He's really good at dressing up.
We should get the makeup guy to just do jowls on her.
Just jowls. Like let her play Black Ops Cold War. She can see Reagan on there and get a little impression going. Because the guy who does Reagan on the game is not good. It's like the spirit of the voice, but it's not even close. So it would be good for her. Like, all right.
My favorite Reagan impression, still and forever and always to this day, is Phil Hartman.
Oh yeah,
when he does when he's like talking about like
yes,
talking to all his military generals, and he's just like, "Here's the plan. I've negotiated it personally. All you guys have to do is call it in when I say it's time." And then we'll get the money. And it's just like,
sir, the Girl Scouts are
sold
here.
The most Girl Scout cookies is here to see you. It's like, God damn it. This is the part of the job I hate the most. It's like, get away, get in this other room. And then as soon as all the people disappear, and it's like this little girl and a guy with a camera taking pictures. It's like, well, if you're so good at selling cookies, I should have you sell Congress.
By the way, that clip is older than very nearly everyone who listens, including, I believe, us. I do believe that is like an 83 or 82. So
I think that one was like 86 or so.
Oh, okay. All right. So not quite.
I saw it later. I didn't see it at the time. No. I'll tell you that much.
But before we get off of the Build Back Better plan, despite everyone's objections, it has been predicted they will have a deal by the end of the week, which means Biden is going to capitulate and just give everybody what they want to get this passed. And then forever it'll be the Build Back Better plan. You remember Joe Biden's thing? You're like, yeah, they didn't do fuck all. But it'll be his thing. So he'll have it forever.
What really bothers me about it is that we've negotiated it down to getting rid of all the things that I feel like it couldn't afford to necessarily, like, for me, the climate provisions that it was going to offer, while not anywhere close to what should actually be done, was the most honest attempt to really sort of get ahead of this whole thing in a way.
Yeah. Well, by the way, not get ahead. Deal with the problem that is already on top of us, because it's no longer a future problem.
As far as government bills go, this is as close to getting ahead of it as we will ever get. And the fact that all this stuff is basically just like carte blanche gone because Joe Manchin won't deal with it. The reason why there's a lot of people like Rob and I who are pushing for the abolition of the filibuster so that we can pass things like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is because there's a decent enough chance that starting in a year when people start voting for Congress and Senate again in the midterms, the Democratic Party will not be will not have the majority in either house.
Nope.
We'll probably lose the presidency. And then who knows? Who knows when the next time you have any kind of anything close to a 50-50 Senate and a majority in the House and a president in the White House. Like,
and can I be clear about this?
That happened. The last time it happened before this was like fucking Clinton. 2008 or.
Oh, that's right. Wait, Obama did have a majority in both.
He had a majority in both. Then he had like a couple senators to spare, which made it easy for him. And then he lost it in the midterms at one point, and he never got it back. And then he never got anything done.
Yep.
And
that's why Obamacare was shit, because they had to make a deal with the fucking Republicans about what it would look like.
Not only that, but Democrats in that one too had to because fucking what's his face, the one who ran for vice president, Joe Lieberman.
Fucking Lieberman.
Joe Lieberman fucking torpedoed the whole. They had an agreement in principle, and Joe Lieberman was the swing vote, and he said, "I'm not going to do it unless you do this, this, and this." And he's just like, "Oh, the most important aspects of the bill."
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's.
And then eventually, this watered down shit got put through, and it's great in theory because Obamacare is still sort of like. Law of the land.
The problem is people don't remember what it was like before. When I was 22, off my parents' insurance, and just like, oh, I have the flu or I have a head cold. I'll let that go. And then 2 years later, I lost like 60% of my hearing in 1 year. Like, what are you going to do? I don't have money to pay for a doctor. And that's I wanted to say, we talked about unions earlier. This doesn't benefit me at all. I'm fucking rich. I am rich. None of this is good for me. I make a very healthy salary. I don't need free healthcare. I don't need I'm single. I'm not going to have kids. I don't care about the environment. Burn the whole fucking planet down. It's going to take more than 40 years and I'll be dead in 40 years. So fuck it. I do this not for me, but for everyone else. All the breeders out there who just pull-out game is so weak that they just reproduce unbelievably. I do it for you. And the children that come from the, bad pullout game. Anyway.
Well,
yet another episode we can't show to your daughter. I get it. Yes.
Grisden Cinema has decided that even though the perfect perfect people to help pay for the whole Build Back Better agenda would be billionaires who are not taxed and corporations who are not taxed. She said, no, I don't want to tax those people. So apparently as another way of getting the money that they would need for the Build Back Better agenda, Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, has proposed taxing speculative capital gains, which is, in my mind, hold on, I'll say this. Hypothetically, I think there should be some sort of floor. I would be fine with if you have more than, $10 million or $50 million in investments, then perhaps you can start getting taxed on speculative capital gains. But generally speaking, I think this is a really fucking dumb idea. And
I don't necessarily disagree with the floor. Because again, Jeff Bezos has no money. He is not a very wealthy man. I mean, he's not in the top echelon of what, like Saudi princes have oil in the ground. That is a real thing that will produce at least more money every day until it runs out. Jeff Bezos has a large share of Amazon stock, which is highly valued, and a spaceflight company that is highly valued. But in reality, the benefit to that is he can build a $175 million mansion because someone gives him a loan against that capital that he holds. That's the benefit of it. And so when he's like, I want to build that mansion, they give him the money, and then he pays it back because he also gets paid very well. But Corey, in our pre-show call, you use our example of like me trying to buy a building. And they say, oh, well, you make six figures, so maybe that building, but certainly not this old building with the... Is that a T on it? Nope. It was never owned by anybody who had a last name T. That is not how this building has ever been owned. But the reality is I could buy like a $20,000 house on my salary. Jeff Bezos can afford a $175 million house, not because of his salary, but because he owns all of the controlling share of this stock. And that stock has a value, at least for now. Remember Enron, Bezos. Remember Enron.
The problem here, and again, Rob and I have very different ideas of like,
because I'm rich.
Qualifies you as absurdly rich?
I am rich. I know that I am not absurdly rich. I feel
like a proposed taxation on speculative capital gains will only impact people who have the those things that would be gaining in capital gains taxes in an account that's linked to their name.
Yes.
So if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or, a bank vice president or something like that, somebody who makes a lot of money, you make six figures a year or something like that, you have a stockbroker at, Morgan Stanley or something like that, and you give them money to invest in the stock market and you watch it grow, hopefully, over the course of however long you have it in there. You get dividends, you see the value of the thing go up, and then eventually if you want to sell the stock and like buy a second home or something like that,
or fifth or
you would
sixth.
pay what?
Or fifth or sixth home.
Yeah, whatever. You would pay 37% capital gains tax and on whatever you were taking out, and then you would have the money.
But the problem is, my example, much like Apple has a bunch of money trapped overseas. They can't get it back to the U.S. So what they do is they get a U.S. bank to give them money, and then they default on the loan overseas, and the bank seizes that money in there, and now they still have the money in the U.S.
Well, don't forget, during the Trump administration, there was also a tax holiday that was put on bringing money back over from overseas.
That money, it's not there anymore.
And that money was used so Apple could start its own film company and streaming network.
I have watched Ted Lasso.
So we got all that money out of Ireland so that we could have Ted Lasso,
which almost is worth it. I mean,
you're welcome.
He's a national treasure, really. It's a show that Americans love about two things that Americans hate, which I don't understand, but people like it, so that's good.
You know what though? It's funny, like, because I talk to people all the time about like what streaming services they have.
Yeah,
and I've heard like 4 people tell me they have Apple TV Plus.
I have Apple TV
4.
Plus.
I know you're one of the 4 that I'm counting, but I'm saying like I've heard like 4 people say that they have it. Yet everyone's seen Ted Lasso, and I don't understand how this happens.
Oh, because you do you get a free trial, like Paramount. Like you could just put in your email and get a free trial for like 7 days or 14 days, and like, all right, I guess I'm binging Ted Lasso over the next week. Cool.
That's why nobody knows any other Apple TV shows.
Yeah,
it's just, the only thing I watched was Ted Lasso. I only had a week trial.
Also, though, when you don't pop out a bunch of kids, you have what's called a discretionary amount of income. My discretionary budget I spend on cutting the cord because I don't want to pay for cable. So instead I pay twice as much to get every network streaming that I possibly can. Man.
But yeah, I mean, like, what I think is dumb about this, what Janet Yellen is saying, is not necessarily that she has an idea for, speculative capital gains taxes, but that she didn't leave any groundwork for it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
just throw it out there.
Just throw it out there. If Rob has $100 worth of stock, right, and he buys one share of $100 company.
What if I buy 1 million shares of a coin that is going to 100% increase in value over the next few years?
Listen, my Shiba is looking impressive right now. If I took it out, I'd be able to buy lunch, no problem.
Well, and listen, luckily, you're not, bringing new life into this world that will be impacted by climate change that's being created by all this Bitcoin. But anyway, go ahead. Tell me.
No, but basically what I'm saying is like by not laying any of the groundwork for what you're proposing here, you've left us in the position where we're just wildly speculating, which means that like, Rob buys a stock that costs $100, and over the course of a year, it goes up to $150, right? And then he's taxed on the value of that $150 stock, the $50 that he's gained. You're going to pay 37% on.
You're speculating.
And then again,
yes.
And then again, when you eventually sell it a year later, you're going to pay 37% on the 150, as opposed to the 100.
Well, to be straightforward, I wouldn't, because I don't invest in stocks. I don't have cryptocurrency. I don't have a retirement account. I have nothing. I just plan on being found dead and wrapped in newspapers at the age of like 45 and being put out on the curb on trash day. That's my
if you have an investment property, you're going to be paying 37% gains on whatever you're doing every year.
That would make me a landlord, and I am already a terrible person. The only thing I could do to make it worse was to be a landlord, or to start a company and therefore be a capitalist. So I'm a bad example. I'm not the one. I ride a bird scooter everywhere because I don't need a car, and there's a lot of stuff in a car that are bad for the environment, and also the car is bad for the environment. So, I don't need it, so I don't have it.
All I'm saying is that Democrats' plan, once we can't tax the billionaires, is thrown out the window, and we can't tax the companies, is thrown out the window.
Tax middle class.
Is let's tax anybody who has capital gains.
Yeah.
Which instantly you say to yourself, capital gains, that's only Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
Normal people, yes, say that.
Normal people have
no. Normal people say that. Corey, who has this idea in his head of capital gains that it has never been defined anywhere in the world, is like, literally, oh no, this is going to impact Rob's $10 investment.
Literally any kind of investment would fall under that category.
Nothing has been defined. She's just wildly speculating about capital gains in general.
Right, but I'm saying if you don't come in here with the plan as to what constitutes your tax and at what level it starts beginning, and at what point, if you get, say you were walking down the streets of Hollywood and some guy said, look at that hot piece of ass, I need him to work for Warner Brothers. And then you become an executive vice president of Warner Brothers.
First of all, I don't believe it at all, because the guy who makes those two comments back to back doesn't work for Warner Brothers. He works for the Warner Brothers, some drug dealers that live further down the block.
No, but I'm saying he sees you. He's just like, I've never seen a man ride a bird like that. I need to have him in my company. And then you become an executive vice president of mobility at Warner Brothers.
Sure. Yes.
Mobility. And as part of your annual salary, you also get some stock options.
I sell them immediately. I sell them.
And now this Warner Brothers stock that you have,
yes,
is just making money and getting you taxed extra, just for you were given a benefit. Now you're paying taxes on it.
So you know what I would do? I would say, hey, I don't want your stock options.
Give it to me in cash.
Give me
in Bitcoin.
Yes. Because in the end, they're going to seize any of my tax return anyway. So I would rather just have the cash now and then get taxed on it regular, and then the government can keep that part.
You make fun of it, but Russell Okung a couple years ago signed a contract where he wanted to be paid half cash and half Bitcoin. And when he signed that deal, he was the 19th highest paid left tackle in the NFL.
Yep.
And 2 years in, he was the fourth richest left tackle in the NFL. So, sometimes these benefits.
Yeah, and if he's smart,
you shouldn't sneeze at them.
As soon as it hits his Bitcoin wallet, he turns that motherfucker into cash and then gets out. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is that deal is working out a lot better for Russell Okung now than it was back then. And he was doing really well for himself back then.
Oh, the millionaire got more rich. Good to know. Anyway. Let's just blast through the last topic because we're already at I can't even read it because I don't have my glasses. 120.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. There was a command center for the coup that has been revealed. It was at a hotel outside of D.C. and then moved to a hotel right downtown called the Willard. a lot of people don't know
It's
this,
like
but
right by the White House.
yeah, it's likely that the term lobbyist became the term lobbyist because Union General who became president, whose name is just flew out of my head, Ulysses Grant, used to go to a hotel, which I'm pretty sure was the Willard, and get drunk at the lobby because the White House staff would not serve him to excess. So he would leave the White House to go get drunk at a hotel. And the term lobbyist came out because people would find him drunk and get him to agree to things and then show up at the White House the next day and be like, oh no, the president said we're go on this. So they started becoming known as lobbyists because they would wait at the lobby of the hotel. So it turns out the coup planned at the Willard Hotel, and much like Ulysses Grant, only I guess in the reverse, congressmen, senators, all people, and when you're thinking a list in your head of who would have been part of the planning for the coup, they're on the list. It's them. They would go to the Willard and meet with the people who were not working in government, but also planning a coup. And if this says to you, this sounds like some kind of spy thriller, certainly at the end of this, somebody's going to get charged. Someone's going to go to jail. Someone's going to get executed for treason. Absolutely
Except
not.
when you open the doors of the rooms in the Willard, instead of seeing like Goldfinger or something like that, you see Steve Bannon and Alex Jones.
There's so much red skin. You have no idea. Ted Cruz is in there. It just smells like whiskey and regret, and it's red skin and bad hair all over the place.
Dan Snyder's trying to find a way in.
This crowd is so bad, they don't even let Dan Snyder come in.
Come on, man. We don't need your trouble around here.
Listen, Landover. Why don't you go out in the suburbs to a bar, all right? This is a Washington, D.C. establishment.
Well, on top of that, they weren't just meeting at the Willard, but Rolling Stone had a report that I only got to read half of because my internet my browser decided to update at the moment. I was reading halfway through it, and then the next time I clicked on it, it reached the subscription limit.
You're at the paywall. Son of a bitch.
You know, sidebar. I was like one day on one of my news feeds, like a story from like the San Francisco Chronicle went up. A newspaper that I never read.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever clicked on a Chronicle article before.
No.
But like this specific story was about something not important, but it was like something that like I cared about. So I clicked on it. And they're just like, oh, to read this one, you have to be a subscriber to the San Francisco Chronicle. It only costs you $20 a month. And I'm just like, motherfucker, I want to read one story. Can you please either like A, give me one. Like, I feel like one should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Or B, give me an option to give you like a penny to read this one. Like, you know, do something. Because like, I'm not going to pay $20 a month to read the one article about the big luxury condominium that's sinking.
Also,
like
Google News, stop suggesting me stories that are behind a goddamn paywall. Because every time I find a paywall story, it's a Google News link.
Yeah, and I hate it because I'll click it and then I'll be like, oh, can't read this story, and then all of a sudden I see paywall and I'm like, nope, bye.
But once you've clicked, now you're more likely to be suggested that media source like the SF Chronicle.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck no, Google, I don't want Chronicle articles. I'm not paying.
So anyway, Rolling Stone of the article that I read, about half of, there were January 6th attackers, people who were involved in the insurrection, had dozens of meetings with people in the House and people at the White House in regards to getting things ready for this January 6th attack. Mm-hmm. And just in your mind, close your eyes, say to yourself, who are the Congress people who are responsible for hosting these meetings? And you probably have a list about 5 or 6 names, and I'm about to rattle them all off right now for you. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Gosar, Madison Cawthorn, Louis Gohmert, literally all these. Yeah. All the people you hear all the time who are right in the thick of insurrectionist tendencies.
I think let me just describe this, and I think they have a word for this. A bunch of people meet in relative secret to plan an overthrow of the government. What? I feel like there's a term for that. conspiracy? Is that a conspiracy? Sounds a little bit like a conspiracy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, conspiracy is definitely like if I met with somebody else to plan an illegal act, it's certainly conspiracy.
That feels like it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like in this specific case, there's a higher calling, you know?
Right,
like,
right. I mean, treason.
I mean, maybe if we combine the two of them, like a conspiracy to commit treason.
That seems like that seems like a term that would work. I think we're good.
I mean, I feel like I should be hired at the Justice Department right now because tomorrow I would walk into the office and I'd say, "Hey, shouldn't we do something about all this conspiracy to commit treason?" And then all the Department of Justice lawyers would just look at me and it's just like, we mostly just watch YouTube around here.
Where's Merrick Garland? Where's Merrick Garland?
He's watching YouTube too. He's got really into the ASMR thing. Do you know what that is?
If there is somebody who is into ASMR, it is Merrick Garland. The soft-spoken, just everything.
Just listening to a finger like going up against a matchbook cover. Like,
oh, that's good. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. All right. Ooh, calm down, Merrick. Calm down.
Hey, Merrick Garland, get your ear real close for this one. Do your fucking job, bitch.
How about do your job or quit?
Do Merrick your job or quit. I feel like I don't even want to give him the option. I just want to call him a bitch. Like, you ain't doing shit. I really like what. I understand that the White House and the Department of Justice wants to have their hands-off relationship. I'm totally cool with that. But you know, I also think that there's a, you know, like I'd like to have a hands-off relationship with like my CPA because I don't know better than them, you know.
I'm not trying to tell them what to
handle stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not telling him what to do. I'm not telling him how to do his job. But if I looked at my numbers and I realized my CPA fucked me real bad, you better believe I'm gonna call him up and say like, "Hey, what is this? Explain yourself," you know.
So,
like,
thinking about it, I have some concerns. I'm almost glad Merrick Garland didn't get on the Supreme Court because I feel like some of those guys, the newer guys especially, would just bully him, and he'd be like, "Okay, all right, gun, yeah, everybody gets a gun at birth. Everybody gets a gun. I'm with you. Let's do it. Okay." Yes, we're not women. We don't need abortions. I don't know why this is such a problem.
The worst part of it would have been if he would have been voted in when Obama put him in. He would have quit after 2 years because they would have insisted that he do work, that he do something all day with his life.
Nobody in the Supreme Court does work.
I don't want to do work. You're making me show up to places and judge cases. That's what I used to do. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm enjoying this not doing anything.
Listen, to be fair, the Supreme Court at this point is just basically a kegger.
Why don't I just quit? Right? Why don't I just quit and this Trump guy can find my replacement? That's what it would have happened because clearly Merrick Garland doesn't give a shit about doing the job he's been picked for. He'd rather just twiddle some thumbs just like this,
or wait,
just sit around twiddle thumbs all day.
Is it possible that he's bitter about not getting a Supreme Court job, so now he's just like, "Oh no, keep paying my check, motherfuckers. I'm just gonna sit here and not do fuck all." Because
this is a wildcat strike. I ain't telling you shit.
If I get passed over for a promotion, best believe my ass is like, "All right, keep paying me."
Oh well.
What is it you say? Would you say you do around here? Whatever the fuck I want. Why don't you get out of my face? What you gonna do? Fire me? Go ahead.
Merrick Garland shooting a new version of Office Space at the Department of Justice.
I'm seeing another skit. I feel like there's something here. It could be comedy gold.
Fucking Jim Comey in the corner, like down in the basement. I do believe you have my stapler. Why are you still here? I thought we fired you.
I was told this is where I should go.
To come down here. I'll burn the building down. I'll do it.
Wait, who's the boss in this case?
Who's the Lundberg of
this
whole
who's
situation?
Lundberg? Because nobody seems to be checking on shit. It ain't Biden, that's for fucking sure. Maybe it's Buttigieg. Maybe he's just like, how's everything going here, guys? Shouldn't you do some work? I'm gonna need you to come in this weekend.
It wouldn't be Buttigieg. Buttigieg has got his own scheme going on over transportation.
Oh yeah, the whole I'm not working, like paternity leave, I'm out. Okay, yeah.
Listen, no, I'm totally in support of him having paternity leave, and I think that he should do it. But at the same time, I would like it if in between the story of him becoming transportation secretary and him taking paternity leave,
something.
I heard any other story about him doing anything. This is the whole problem I have. Like, I was willing to give Biden a little break, but at the same time, I expected at some point he'd start doing things like.
Is it possible that Jen Psaki is Lumberg in this situation? Just like walking around saying things,
Psaki?
Psaki, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or Saki, right? P silent.
Yeah, it's Saki. The P silent.
Yeah. Is it possible she's Lumberg? Just like giving bad news, but doing it with a smiling face and asking people to work.
only did his thing on TV.
Yeah. I feel
like a Max Headroom situation.
Yeah. This is actually turning more into a Dilbert comic where like the boss is inept and nobody really knows what they're doing, and the one guy who can do his job is just hamstrung from doing anything because everybody's so terrible. Buttigieg is Wally. I'm seeing a Dilbert comic in my head.
The worst part about this whole thing is Scott Adams would fucking hate the fact that we're talking about that.
You say the worst. I say it's the best thing. Come at me, Scott Adams. What do you got? What are you going to draw me in a comic? All right, let's do it.
What, are you going to vote for Trump again and lose? All right. Well, I think if you're looking for a valuable time to waste whatever hours you're spending at the Department of Justice, you know where the best place to do that is.
I mean, I feel like YouTube videos could be found somewhere.
Oh, the Anthem.com, corridor of the Anthem.com. On my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595.
There we go.
And you can find me at my website, queerbitcoinfilmmaker.com, except for you can't because it's currently down, but we'll be up shortly. In the meantime, Facebook at facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm and at LegendsB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And baby's coming, so excited for that.
Oh, was that it? I was gonna tease you with a new
plugs.
content yell, but I have nothing left. Listen. Wait, hang on. Let me get the two shots.
I told you about an idea for a new piece of content that I'd like to do, but then you guys went to the movies without me.
I don't know what to tell you. You're in a new phase of life. Stop choosing a woman. Stop choosing one of two women over us, and then we will start choosing you. Okay?
If I knew about it, I would have said no. I have plans.
All I'm saying is, we've talked about on this podcast. One, work 3 days a week, or 3 days a month. Two, now taking paternity leave, which sounds to me like the perfect opportunity to create some content.
I'm really Buttigieging this whole situation.
You really are. I keep giving you rope and saying like, no, he's gonna do it. Don't worry. And then it just comes back and smacks me in the face.
Eventually, he'll do something.
Well, you can find me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks, robertandcheek.com. We have links to everything I'm doing. I am still theoretically streaming on twitch.tv/Robert and Cheek. You can come play with me on Kukurius, KANKOU space KER space YS on Call of Duty. That's what I'm doing most of my time. I'm also reading and writing. Starting my young adult fiction series of books, which Corey's Child is the star of. So, Casey, if you're listening to this, one, I'm sorry. Two, yes.
Why are you going through the back catalog? Something must have gone horribly wrong.
I want to learn who my dad was. And then 3 episodes in, like, I'm good. I don't even want to.
She's like, I want to listen to the episode where he talks about how the Department of Justice fell apart. We were promised it would be better when it wasn't under Bill Barr. Well, where is it?
First of all, that is not what she would say. Maybe that's what she would say. That's not how she would say it. She's going to be around someone who speaks barely English. And she'll also be around Roberto and Katya. So, I mean, there's going to be a real mixed accent. Did we talk about the fake accent thing on the podcast just briefly?
Can I give you a quick preview of what she might sound like?
Go ahead, please do.
Sailboat. Oh, is it hit you somewhere? Does
No,
that
no,
make
no.
you feel-
You know why it hasn't hit me somewhere? Because as soon as she sent me that video, I started twice a week calls with him where I would talk about boats all the time until I wrung and smoothed and ironed that accent out of him, and now he's fine. Now it's fine.
Just do wait.
Because he gets it like a little bit rather than every moment, every waking moment for all of his life.
Just you wait. You're gonna come out. You're gonna go home to visit him. He's just be like, "Come on, guys, show you where all the kids hang out." It's like, oh my god, there's so many words I must fix.
I know. No, listen. If it gets
do?
if it gets that far, the only thing I would have to say about that is, I was at a point in my life one time where I didn't care about the future, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be 40, burn the whole planet down. I'm back there. Let's just take off and nuke it from space. That's the only way. It's the only way.
Rob just walks into the kitchen where Sarah's standing, like wiping off one dish.
Yes.
He's drinking his coffee. He's just like, so I've been thinking of Max, and you ever read the book Lord of the Flies?
No, I would do for him what I did for myself. That's send him to an overpriced New York educational facility where he will learn that he sounds like a country bumpkin and then smooth that shit out of the voice on his own. He'll take care of it all himself.
It didn't work for me. My accent only got worse in New York.
You're absolutely right, it did. But
When
he shares my genes, not yours, so we'll be good.
My problem is anytime I hear an accent, my accent comes back harder. I feel like it's a competition. Well, I think we've done good here today.
Well, all right, yo. I would say that we dang did something, but I don't know if it was good.
We did something.
We did something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, listening to the Anthem podcast, part of the Anthem Digital Network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody. Especially you, Casey. Stay inside. Just another week or 6. You'll be fine. or 12 months. I don't know. I don't know how long they can stay in there, but I feel like, I really want that 50-pound baby with red hair and freckles to come out. That'd be good.
By the way, in fantasy, I have like the Schrodinger's Alvin Kamara going on right now, where I needed him to score a lot of points for one league and not a lot of points for the other league.
Why would you do that?
Exactly.
Oh, I guess just week to week. I was going to say week to week.
I'm playing against him in one league, and I'm playing with him in another.
Well, in other fantasy,
he fucked me.
In other fantasy news, I have one good quarterback, really one quarterback at all, and he went down in the fourth quarter after scoring no points all day. So I'm not even going to look. We're just going to set the team for next week and call it a day.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so jokes aside, I almost hit this. I'll
know when the stream is done because I'll see the sports ball thing fly across the. Yeah, there.